Okay, my project is the Crab Creek Project Bike Trail. And the idea of all this started in M Gallery with the Kent State project. If you'll notice some of the paperwork I've given you, you'll notice that the city has already planned a lot of these things, and I'm just trying to find a way to extend it by going under South Avenue with a project that will just take a bike path from the edge of the back of Covelli Centre down and around to the other side of the bridge. That's it. That's the simple part. The other part is I had to walk the entire area that's going to be developed to make sure first that it would be feasible. And it would be feasible to go from University Housing across Andrews Avenue, down the Greenway, Crab Creek, through the brownfield underneath there and connect with the bicycle path that is going to be on the far side of town by the amphitheater. That means you can technically ride from student housing to Mill Creek without having to take your car down to Mill Creek and park it, have extra traffic down there. You're eliminating a lot of traffic in the park. It gives you a nice ride. And it's pretty cool. Some of the issues involved in this were kind of interesting. I still have to deal with brownfields. I've already talked to somebody at the EPA I can talk to as it goes on to carry the project on further. And I've also talked to the History Museum to contact the railways that are involved. So the project is minuscule compared to the project that's going on in Youngstown. But the connector to get underneath the bridge will make the whole waterfront of Youngstown available to be done with. There's a lot of walking around. This is the Youngstown bicycle transportation map here. That's what we have already. It's even marked on gradients of how difficult it is or how easy it might be. The whole real project for me was seeing the entire picture. You had to put the whole thing together first. I talked to the mayor on the 19th of October. He likes the idea, but of course there's lots of things that still have to be discussed. One of the issues is that the area is technically for taking care of repairs to the bridge. So trying to talk to the engineer to find out just how thick the roadway is going to have to be to support a big crane. And things like it's really nothing to do with the whole project, but it's to do with the whole project, because all of these, if you build it and then you go down and wreck it a couple of years later, it's kind of redundant. If we build it right the first way, it's going to work. The budget items are interesting because there's a whole lot of things to do with the contractors as far as licensing, insurance, things like that to come up that are variable until the contractor plans it. So it makes it a little difficult. Wayfinding here defines as socially responsible transit. And if you can transit from one part of this town to the other easily because of this one little puzzle piece, I think it's going to be a bigger puzzle piece than you think after it gets developed. It lets you move around Youngstown. I'm planning on, if you looked at some of the pictures, that I found walking bollards that the railway uses down on the Stanek Trail. I included that in there so the city can get into the area and do whatever they have to do. I want them wide enough that a wheelchair could go down there so somebody could walk, somebody in a wheelchair. I want it to be totally accessible, at least the riverfront. Crab Creek, the Greenway is a whole nother project, but if we all connect them together, it technically means that where you come into it on Andrews Avenue, you can also come down from the east side. So the east side and the north side are connected. If you go all the way to Hubbard Road, you've got all that open up to Hubbard, all that section. So you're opening up a lot of area by putting this puzzle piece in place. Lighting can be just about anything. I'm hoping that the park is probably going to close at dusk. Just because, you know, who wants to be out in there by yourself? But I thought about lighting. Lighting would probably be through the brownfield, so it wouldn't be part of the project. But it will come eventually. And another thing that I think is socially important is if you can get to the train people and see if you could get on your smartphone what the train schedule is. So if you want to take the kids down and see a train, you know when they're going to be coming through and when they're going to be in your way. So that's all in the future, unfortunately, but this is how these things go. And it's really rethinking public space. I mean, this is a way to really make the whole city waterfront open. The view down there, this is Crab Creek. The views down there of the town as you go through there are showing you the back of buildings, things like that, that were the foundation of Youngstown. It's a history trip too. So as I was hoping that as we go there, we can put signage up showing what this is, what it was doing, other things like that as we go on. Ideally, there's lots of issues that are going to happen with other parts of it. That's nice, but we've got to get under there first. The grade is a little slight, but there's a deep part to it. I want to talk to the contractor about maybe putting a railway down there so people coming up have something to hold on to as they're moving through that area. But that's still until we get to the contractor. One of the reasons I picked this in the first place is because it's within the project guidelines. I thought I could do it for $20,000 without going over budget at all, really. And it all depends on whatever. Then we can find other investors to handle the other parts of it. But if you leave the back of this parking lot open from Youngstown Bridge, from Market Street Bridge, you can literally ride through the parking lot over there and down in and then across the brownfield to the Greenway. It's like opens everything up. And signage will be demanded by, I'm going to be working with the museum to find out where old locations. There was towns down here around this area, early in Youngstown history. Might be interested for some signage about that. Let people know what the history of the general area is, how it became a pavement instead of a stream, things like that. The project seems to be waiting for somebody to do it. And so I just felt like I should be the person who just picked it up and took a look at it. Now, people go, oh, well, how important is this? Well, how important is all the rest of the stuff we're doing? It's going to change this town from 18th century, early 19th century, to today. That's what's important about it. Because you don't need to have a car to move around town. You can walk all these paths just as easy as you can ride them on a bicycle. You can take grandma on a wheelchair on these paths just as easy as you can riding a bicycle. I mean, that's the general idea, is to be able to view the river. I talked to the mayor when we talked about the brownfield. Because it's already a brownfield, it's cinder. Let's just put blacktop right over across on top of that. But if we move some of the dirt around there up, say 3 feet high, you'll be able to ride along and look at the river all the way around. So it'll make it even more attractive. And another aspect I've talked to about some people, City of Chattanooga just developed a park that is all sculptures. That brownfield area would be a nice sculpture park. You just take enough area to get the sculpture where you're going to set it up and then let it be. So there's art, transportation. I mean, there's a myriad of things that could be connected to this area. If you can get investors interested in it after we get under the bridge, anything can happen. So that's about it.
You guys have any questions?
What's your first name?
Richard,
Richard, do you have anybody else on your team?
not at this time.
Okay.
The problem was that because of all the footwork involved,
Right.
that I had to make sure it would work first. And by that time, most of the other people had already formed together. But I'm hoping to pick up, if any, there's only 5 of us going to go through this thing. I'm hoping to pick up some of the people that are out of the game later on and develop that way. Because once we get down to the actual doing the dirty work down there, I'm going to need extra people.
Does your budget only include the development of the path itself, you know, with the remediation and safety and things like that? Or are you hoping to get some of like the signage and things like that as well? It seems rather low.
Because of delays, like for instance, the bollards were like $1,033 each on each end of the trail. That was only for a 30-day limit, and that's already expired, but I had to have that for the budget. So that may be $2,000 by the time I get to it. So there's all kinds of issues that are going to come up with the budget. There's contractors who work with the city, but they're all busy. The licensing and permits are going to be the same no matter who you are. Even if you work for the city, you're going to have to reissue all that stuff again. So it's basically an educated guess, but I still think that I've left the stipend for the end, and basically we can eliminate one bollard if we have to. We can use 90% of the stipend if we want to. I mean, there's enough fudge in the budget that it actually can add the things we need later on. I mean, $2,000 is the price going in town for a park bench. So there's your stipend. If I didn't want to take the stipend, I want to take a bench with my name on it. Whoopee, that's my stipend. There's all kinds of ways you can get around it, but mostly that takes a contractor free to get down and do the area. And believe me, the city doesn't want somebody traipsing around down there until they're ready to, until I've been accepted as part of the program. When I talked to the mayor, he pretty much told me, I talked to him several times since I talked to him the first time, that this is going to become one of the problems, is developing how to make it. Like, for instance, the grade. I want the grade to be so it doesn't cause any erosion, because you don't want half the hill running down into the creek. That's the only person who's going to be able to answer that problem is the actual contractor. And it may mean like building up one side of the path so you go around it and the water doesn't run down, it follows the path down, and things like that. Those are all things I've thought about, but until we actually get the contractor in there and looking at it, it's not going to be realistic. But I still think we can make it within the budget.
Anyone else?
Good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.